Friends, it's now time to step into something really extraordinary. Something that is good enough to trash the $350 billion diabetes industry, all based on the recently published, the longest ever low-carb ketogenic experiment primarily designed on the carnivore diet principles. Fast forward almost 100 years, from 1929 to May 2025, the meat-based ketogenic narrative has re-entered the spotlight when the open-access platform Frontiers in Endocrinology published a fresh case report headed by Dr. Sarah L. Montgomery of the University of Minnesota, with endocrinologist Dr. Miguel P. Martinez and clinical dietitian Claire J. Davis as co-authors. Described in the journal's commentary as the longest, most exhaustively documented single-patient intervention ever recorded in type 1 diabetes. The study traced the journey of a Midwestern teenager who, after his 2013 diagnosis, committed to a tightly supervised ketogenic diet and agreed to give researchers decade-long granular access to every laboratory draw, insulin dose, and lifestyle variable, a collaboration few clinicians would dare to sanction. The results are totally different from what everyone was expecting, and truly unbearable for the money-hungry big pharma mafia. Let's have a look how the experiment went along and how the outcomes have forced a big change in the entire health narrative surrounding the high-fat, high-protein diet plans, followed by the unexpected correlation of these results with the findings of the Harvard Carnivore Study. The baseline evaluation of this case study paints a familiar portrait of adolescent autoimmunity. Fasting glucose at 229 milligrams per deciliter, HbA1c at 6.8%, despite basal bolus insulin, C-peptide in the low normal range, and an athletic 63 kilograms of body weight distributed over 178 centimeters. Yet what set this case apart, the attending physicians noted, was the family's refusal to accept the conventional high-carbohydrate, high-insulin paradigm that dominated pediatric guidelines since the 1980s. Diet construction echoed classical ketogenic ratios. Daily carbohydrate was capped at 50 grams or less. Protein held near 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight, and the remainder, roughly 75% of calories, came from animal fat, ribeye, butter, eggs, cheese, and occasional olive oil. Every meal was logged in a digital diary. Macronutrient splits were triple-checked by a registered dietitian, and quarterly lab visits collected venous blood for a panel that ran from inflammatory markers to advanced lipid particle counts. The induction period, spanning the patient's first 3 months of school life under strict ketosis, startled clinicians because continuous glucose monitor traces flattened from roller coaster spikes to graceful hills. Time in range, greater than 70%, climbed past 95%, and nocturnal hypoglycemia vanished. Outcomes the supervising diabetologist later described in a conference abstract as unprecedented in a newly diagnosed T1D adolescent without closed-loop technology. Insulin requirements tell an even louder story. Total daily dose plunged from 0.8 units per kilogram to 0.45 within 6 weeks, then drifted to a decade-long average of 0.3, which is a significant 43% reduction that slashed not only injection burden, but also the hormonal variability that fuels oxidative stress. By the end of year 1, HbA1c registered 5.4%. By year 5, it averaged 5.5. And by the 10th anniversary, the figure remained unchanged, prompting a diabetes care editorial to remark that the patient's glycemic control resembled that of an individual without diabetes. The lab work further tells a clear, reassuring story. Kidneys first. The filtration rate, think of it as how fast your kidneys strain waste, stayed around 120, which doctors label as excellent. The urine checks never showed more than a trace of albumin, a sign of damage, and the blood test for creatinine, another kidney marker, stayed steady between 0.8 and 0.9. Regarding thyroid and liver, hormone levels sat squarely in the normal range, and the main liver enzymes bounced between 15 and 25, which is exactly where a healthy liver should be. Bone health. Special X-ray scans at year 5 and again at year 10 put his bone strength in the top quarter for people his age. So much for the idea that a meat-heavy diet makes bones brittle. Cholesterol looked more complicated on paper, but added up to good news. Total cholesterol and LDL, bad cholesterol, did climb, settling around 250 and rising in tandem with LDL. But when the team ran a deeper particle test, most of those LDL particles turned out to be the light, fluffy kind that cardiologists worry far less about. Meanwhile, triglycerides, a key heart risk number, dropped from 135 to 58, and HDL, good cholesterol, jumped to 78. Taken together, the heart specialists called this profile protective. Their verdict was backed by imaging. A CT scan at the 10-year mark showed zero calcium buildup in his heart arteries, a perfect score. Furthermore, the body composition has fascinated sports medicine observers because despite adolescence, college life, and a pandemic-era shift to home workouts, the patient's weight floated within a 4-kilogram band, while DEXA scans recorded visceral fat mass in the 5th percentile for peers, and lean body mass squarely in the upper quartile, a profile the supervising dietitian hailed as metabolically bulletproof. Adverse events, the metric that underwrites every safety claim, proved vanishingly rare. Across 3,650 days, only 2 mild hypoglycemic episodes required oral glucose, both during collegiate track meets. There were no emergency department visits for ketoacidosis, severe hypo or hyperglycemia, or electrolyte imbalance. The research team's 10-year review, delivered at the 2024 American Diabetes Association scientific sessions, summarized with measured astonishment. In the longest continuous ketogenic intervention ever recorded in type 1 diabetes, we observed exemplary glycemic control, reduced insulin dependency, and the absence of clinically significant complications.